Okay, somebody want me to go over the action.cpp. Okay, I will do that. Let me just check a question. Yes, it's pretty much just very quickly to Julia's question. So Julia is asking about merge.cpp. You should take the hw5produce and essentially repeat the same thing for the second file. So you're supposed to modify argc, argv. So you take the second file, and then you're using essentially the same thing regarding the JSON processing. Let me just share my screen. So you're going to do the same thing for the JSON processing part. But remember, when you do hw5 produce, it has the JSON processing part, but there is the other part is moving the parse, the result into your object. So at that time, you have to just, instead of just creating a new object, you usually just push back into whatever the array that you can find from the post object of the first. Okay, let me show you something just to illustrate what I'm talking about. So this is what I went over on Monday, yesterday. So you can see that this is a program that's, so this part is actually trying to get to the first file. And then this is the part that's supposed to be hw5 produce. But then after you're done with this, around the same time, around this time, wait a minute. Yeah. Around this time, your hw5 produce pretty much ended here. But then I start to get my second file. So this is adding for the hw5 merge, which has the element. I'm just having a redacted virtual code here, that you're doing the same thing to open the second file, but now you see that you're using argv2, which is the second file name argument you provide. And then you still have the same thing, do fseek, lsize, rewind, fread, those kind of thing. And then you're still doing this parsing business. You parse your JSON. So after you parse the JSON, what you're going to get is this variable called my v message2, or whatever name you like to call it. And now for the first part, my original redacted versions use my v underscore message. So this one is my v underscore message 2. And essentially you're doing the same thing. Try to, but before you do that, I usually did this. I highly recommend you, well, you must do this, is checking this two JSON have the same ID, have the same identity. I mean, for the test cases I gave you, they share all IDs. So this is usually no problem. You should pass this stage if you write the code correctly. And then you start to check on everything. You check on everything, starting with actions, starting with other things. But eventually you go through the reaction. I'm just showing you the reaction part of the code. And you can see that the reaction part of the code is almost identical, except that, except this part. Wait a minute, where did I have that? Oh, okay. The way I did it is this. I actually look at this line. So I first pulled out, instead of for me to create a vec underscore reaction pointer to use new as I did my hw5 produce. Here what I did is that because my post was the object already created, I just directly assigned this pointer to be my post.reaction. So essentially I'm pulling out the pointer from my post object that I already created in the first part. So now this pointer is actually pointing to the vector that within my post object. So now if you can see, I'm actually doing a pushback. You see, I'm doing a pushback of that reaction, which means that I'm actually pushed back to my post. So that's the trick. I'm doing the merge. I'm not doing anything like creating a new my post object, but I'm just using that pointer because my purpose is to append to that. So for homework assignment number 5, I'm basically assuming whatever you're going to do the update is a new one. So you just append to that, that's fine. I mean, I'm not worried about have a redundancy, because if you understand the concept of hw5 merge, you can easily change that such that you can check for redundancy and check whether this thing's already there. And then you can make a really, really beautiful for handling redundancy or duplication. That's no problem, okay? But that's the idea about how you can make the merge to work. Okay, is that any question? Before I look at the action.cpp, let me actually just check. So many comments. Wait a minute. So just get back to Andrew. When you get the architecture x8664, that's usually, it's probably a linking problem, means that there was a .o file, there was a function that the compiler couldn't find it, okay? Okay, Julia, I will first go for the action, and then I will come back to the how to write the comment part, comment constructor, okay? So Jerry, that question looks like is, it looks like it's related to the dump J, to the, my guess is the reaction part as well. We can talk about that later. Yes. This is replying to Thomas' question about the hw5 merge. Of course, that in a real program you need to check. But the test case we provide, we make it simplified. Number one, they will be redundant. They will not be redundant, and those posts will be the same. And when you insert the comments, and it will not be the existing comment is a new comment that you can actually just add in with extra. Okay. Andrew, it could be your make file. It could be you forgot there was a typo that, for example, you have a function name that you misspell like one letter, so it cannot fit, cannot match, or the type doesn't match. Okay. All right, I'm going to the action.cpp, and then I will go back to the comment. I thought I did action.cpp some times ago. Let me actually check. Okay, so I'm going to go to my so what is action.cpp? Action.cpp is action.h, right? So I'm going to provide a .cpp with this file. Okay, so the other day, I was actually making one for link.cpp. Let me see, do I still have that link.cpp? Okay, so I still have this link.cpp, which I actually did it yesterday. So I'm going to reuse this one to make my action.cpp. So I'm going to cp link.cpp to action.cpp. Okay, by the way, for those of you who are interested, there was a Zoom video recorded for how I make a link CPP. It should be really similar to that. So I'm going to do .cpp, but my habits usually I show two windows. One is action .h together, so I know they're consistent. So of course, the first thing I need to change this to action.h. And now I have a constructor, so constructor should be link. It should be action. Okay, and then I have to check the argument for action. So the argument for action, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a 5 string, right? They have a 5 string, but the tricky part is actually inherit from the core. Inherit from core means that I'm just reusing the design, so you have to really invoke the core object. So where did I have that core object? I actually have that from the person.cpp. So I'm going to actually borrow the code from my own, which is your homework assignment number 3 or homework assignment number 2. I forgot. Look at your person.cpp that you should have the same line here. So programmer is always about how can we reuse as much as we can. Okay, so here I have this person.cpp with only 4 characters, but I now have 5, so that's why I have to get actions over here. Okay, so now I'm happy, and I just need to fill in the pigeonhole. Action.h. Let me actually count it again. Action is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let me check one thing. Let me check my base JSON. So in my base JSON, where's my action? Hold on. I just want to see. I haven't done action for a while, so I want to check what I got. Oh, I'm okay. Yeah, I know I have a one that's actually looks much nicer format. Styled base JSON. Okay, so in my base JSON, I have an action field. So action field has a name, host URL, owner VS ID, class ID, and object ID. So I just need to make one extra for the action, and the other 4 will go to the core object. Okay, that's the 5 I have. So okay, so now I know that, just the name and the other 4. So I'm going to start changing it. I'm actually going to put the first 4 on the first 4 parameters, so which is core, arc, host, URL, and arc, core, arc, owner, VSID, and then std, string, core, arc, class ID. Let me put it in a separate line. And then I have a core, arc, object ID. Okay, so this 4 actually match. This 4 I need to call. And then I finally have my last one, which is also a string. I will call the ARG name. Okay, so basically I did this except the last, when I do inside here, I probably just need to do this. Name is equal to name. Okay, so this is my, essentially my actions constructor. It should be pretty standard. So the remaining part of the action is just the dump J. Okay, the dump J is going to be action like this. So thumbj follow exactly the same format. So I'm not going to tell you everything I did here, but here I'm actually going to do, because it has, remember I say this for, I'm actually reversing the process. I have to get name, host URL, owner ID, this 5 things. So I'm just going to show you 2 things. One is a name, one's a host URL. You figure out the other 3. So what I'm going to do, the first one, I'm going to put name, and then I would just say this to the name. This will put it in there. The second one, I would just use, instead of using host URL, I'm just using class ID. And you can just say this class ID, but I can also do this. Okay, this class ID, they're the same. It's just like this. Okay, so you're going to do the rest of the parameter or argument, and after you put that, you just return, and that's it. That's for your action. To test it, you can just try to, every time you create an action object, you can actually just do that particular object pointer dumpj to see if they actually generate the right JSON for the action object. Okay. Okay, that's pretty much how you're going to do the action.cpp. It's really, for this homework assignment, every single object is kind of small. You don't have to write a large amount of code except 2, which is comment.cpp and probably post.cpp. Those are more extensive, but most of them are small. You're repeating the same logic to basically construct that. And that's the beauty of object-oriented design, is like you can break the problem into several small problems, reuse the logic, and they put together to do something fairly complicated. Okay. All right, so let me stop sharing here. So is Emily, this was Emily asked a question about action.cpp. Do you have any question from Emily, from other people regarding action.cpp or whatever .cpp that we design? Okay, so there was another question, which is, I think I will go to reaction.cpp a bit later. I remember there was one for related to comment. I want to go back to the question very quickly. I think Julia asked a question about comment portion on the hw5produce. Okay, let me try to do that. That's okay. For the Jerry, you asked a question about reaction.cpp, right? I actually have an example. I think it's lecture number 10. It talks about the reaction.cpp, talk about dumpj. I'm using reaction. So sorry about that. Let me take care of this. Jerry, take a look at the lecture number 10 and on the reaction.cpp. Basically, that's okay. Thank you. I'm going to the comment constructor. Okay. Okay, I'm going to still using my, let me go back to my redacted version. This is hw5produce. Okay, so I'm going for this part. Okay, this part is the comment part. I guess the question is about constructor. Okay, I didn't have the constructor here, so it must be somewhere I did this part. Okay, let me unshare my screen and then I will share it back. Just give me a second. I see. Okay. Okay, so I'm actually going to tell you the pieces, one pieces I kind of redacted and right before the line that's inside the comment. So I'm actually adding a bunch of code. So I just want to tell you that which part of the code. Let me go over the code, provide a little bit of comment so you know what I'm talking about. The first part is really try to process the ID of the comment. So what is the ID of the comment? Let me just show you an example from my from my from the example from the JSON. So the ID of the comment looks like this one. Wow, this is huge. Okay. So this is a comment, one of the comment at least. Something looks like this. Okay. So a comment actually have a three part. So this part, I just use this line. The first part is really profile ID, or it's actually that profile's VSID. Okay, and then they separate by a underline. And the second one is post ID. And the third part is essentially what we call comment ID. So essentially, if you parse it correctly, the above string, the profile ID should be this part. I just want to give you an example so you know what's happening here. And the post ID should be this portion. And finally, the comment ID should be this portion. Okay, so this is how you can look at ID, the meaning of each part. For the post ID for this one, the post ID for this one, just let you know, when you handle the ID of the posts in the JSON, that the ID is essentially the first two concatenate together, okay, like this. Okay, so number one, you have to take the string. If you do this, let me actually say this. If you do this part of the code, by the way, this part I'm going to add it here. If you do this JSON string, I think it's you get that comment out, and then you say ID, okay? And this one, if you do a .s string, you will get the ID below. Okay, so this is actually help you to get ID for this part. So this part, this piece of code I have here is essentially using a few variable and then using this line is a scanf. I actually talk about this in an earlier lecture with a PowerPoint to talk about how to use this format string to be able to parse out. So this format string basically say, I try to catch three string separated by this underscore. And the first string is basically I'm matching every character until I hit the underscore. So this one is a not and a negation. And this one is the character you want to negate. So basically this percent bracket not underscore means that I will capture every single character to put into that string until I hit that underscore, then I stop. And you put this underscore here to basically pass over that first underscore, and then you do the same thing again. Try to get every single character from that point until you hit the next um, um, underscore, and the third string is the remaining of the string. That exactly match this format that we have here. Okay, that exactly match. That's how I get this as a 3 separate ID over here. Okay, so that part is just basically help you to get the ID part. Okay, the second part is actually I'm actually going to get the person part because every comment has an author. So that's why I'm actually using this to get the author. So first I get ID. That's the 3 ID: S profile, S post, S comment, and then I get the pointer to the author because those are the required argument I need to create a comment pointer. And then I have this message, which is using the message that I get, this 3, the pointer, the message. I also, apparently I need the time. Yeah, I also get the time from the created time. After I have all this, and then based on my design, by the way, this is my design because in my design, the comment, I actually borrowed it from my earlier homework. So it will require this 6 argument. So once I done that, I basically be able to create the comment. But you notice that right now I haven't add other element, like the reaction part, I didn't do it because it will show up later, for example, okay? Any question from whoever asked this question earlier? I'm sorry, I have to go back to the chat. Or anybody have this question regarding what I just introduced to you about how, I mean, it's important you need to create this comment, using new to create this comment and to initialize the comment pointer at the right place. If you don't do this, you'll get the segmentation fault. And the other part is, in order for you to create this, you have to create something else. So that's your program. You have to decide the order about when to create certain thing and then create that. And then you will get a good running code instead of, I mean, I just saw a few of you ran into this issue about not initialize the pointer first and try to use it. That will induce the segmentation fault or bus error from your system. Okay. Okay. Let me check the comment.
Professor, can I ask a question about the segmentation faults you were just talking about?
Sure, Ali, go ahead.
Yeah. Um, so I'm I'm getting a segmentation fault, and I basically started commenting out my code and seeing what runs, what doesn't. And I found that the line that actually assigns the JSON value L_JV is what's causing my segmentation fault, because when I'd comment that line out or remove just even the index I, because it goes like, for example, in vector underscore actions, it goes L_JV equals my v message actions data and then I. If I were to remove the I lose the segmentation fault.
Okay. It's just my guessing, Ali. That is usually means that because when you have this like a my v message, you put a lot of like a bracket, right? There's a few pair of bracket before you hit that. So before you hit the I, there was already one bracket that that whatever the string in the bracket, because the bracket is going to match a string. So
Right.
which that usually means that that string doesn't exist in the JSON.
Okay.
So because of that, because that is not there, and then you want to refer to something that after that it will be segmentation fault,
Hmm.
because it's already give you every bracket that you introduce is going to give you yet another JSON value object.
Right.
So if the JSON value doesn't appear, so I just solved one problem with one of the students. Um, this is an evil for JSON programming. Um, he just missed one character, just one character. Sometimes missing an S. Sometimes there's a misspelling in one character. Because it's JSON string, the compiler doesn't know the semantic. The C++ compiler doesn't know. So it didn't check. So I would suggest you to check on that part.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Cool. And would I be able to send you anything if I'm still
Sure,
stuck
sure,
on
sure.
this?
Yeah. I have been telling students, if you want my help, I usually take a look at the screenshot first. If the screenshot sometimes I cannot manually detect the problem, I will ask them to send me the code, so I can actually use their code to build, because I can do that. But the other thing to locate the segmentation fault is using GDB debugger. Okay,
Yeah.
so I want to talk about GDB debugger, but I didn't do that. I'm not sure it's a good thing or bad thing, because people will have problem running GDB on Mac. MacBook, it used to be they can run GDB without any problem. But MacBook, have you noticed that this day when I develop my MacBook, I cannot run GDB. The MacBook somehow protect GDB, protect our system from the reading of GDB to our memory map. So if you want to use GDB, you probably have to use Windows, WSL, or go to CSIL. But if you're using a Mac, using GDB is really, really difficult this day. I'm still looking for a solution to fix it. Yeah, just to
All
let you
right.
know that. Okay,
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
you're welcome. So I want to check, Julia, is everything okay? Let me see. Okay, Julia didn't say anything, so I assume I'm okay. All right, all right, thank you. Uh, Let me see. I use a string H. Yeah, sure. Cesar, if you use the substring to do that, that's great. If you can, as long as you can get the result, yeah. Of course, there's amazing that there are so many ways that we can do the same thing in C++. Sometimes there are too many options, so we learn from each other about what command and what library we can use. Okay, that's absolutely no problem. You're encouraged to do that. Okay. All right. Any question before I stop the recording, and then to just, okay, let me stop the recording first.